And I will hand over to my chef, and they can have a sushi demonstration and have you guys participate in the sushi learning process and having fun. All right, I hand it over to Andrea Lee. Thank you, guys.
Because you're up close. Hopefully, if you can't see everybody, we can move down further and check it out. Okay, so first we start off with a sheet of nori, which is seaweed, and it's really rich in nutrients. And what you do is you take sushi rice, and actually sushi in Japanese, everybody always thinks it means raw fish and rice. That's not true. It just means seasoned rice, because what we do with the sushi rice is we put vinegar in it. It gives it a kind of acidity, and it gives it that kind of a flavor, which is like back in Japan, what they used to do is they used to ferment fish.
You want large?
And then they put rice in it, so that vinegar gives it that fermented kind of acidy flavor, and it also preserves the rice so that, you guys all know the temperature danger zone, right? Because, of course, if you go, in the case, you definitely want to keep it under 40, around 40, but still it preserves the rice, too. And there's different methods. So have you guys ever been to Harris Theater before? You know how they have a sushi program like that? Well, it's the same thing what we do, except we're in the Dina DeLuca. So a much better sushi program, a lot more higher end. So anyway, let's start off with a little ball of sushi. And then Min Lee, I guess you'll just go ahead and explain what you're doing.
Yeah. So we usually use the sushi roller as a bamboo. So we put a nori.
I have a large. I change it for you.
I think in the 2-inch, like that, 2-inch. That way easy for you to tie them up. So put I think around 3 and 4 ounces of rice. And then you put it in the middle, spread them in the tray. So go use the up down.
Large.
All the way down, up.
Large.
And pull down.
Large.
That means you want the rice fully cover the seaweed, and we put the sesame seed and flip over it, and we put a avocado, and that's the crab meat you can get in the market. I put it. Okay, and a little bit of cucumber. And we're going to close.
So in this step, when you put the ingredients on the other side, you want to get it packed tight as much as you can, because that will help you when you do the actual rolling process.
Sure, yeah. When you tie them up, see how it looks, okay? So you can open it. A little bit move forward.
2 millimeter. One more.
Then you'll be done. Like this. Then make a final adjustment. Then we can cut it.
So the cutting part is actually really, really hard. So Min Lee's going to cut the first half of it, and then you guys should all try to cut it because it's really hard. Like, for me, it's the most difficult part. I'll make it fall apart.
Done. So you can put some sauce on the plate.
Yeah. So after you're done with cutting it, you can plate it however way you want to, and that's up to you guys, since you can do your own creative style now. And what he made was a California roll, so this is what we call a totally cooked roll. And it's actually inside out. It's not a typical Japanese roll. Usually in Japan, they put the seaweed on the outside. But in America, some people were scared of the actual seaweed, so they do it the inside out way, which is the rice on the outside. And this was definitely invented in the U.S., the California roll.
While Min is mixing, I'm going to tell you just a little bit. You might know this or you may not, but Philip said, why don't you look up a little bit of history on the sushi? So I did. And there is many conflicting opinions about sushi as there are countries in the world, I'm sure. But the earliest known record of
I only
sushi
have one, so
was
I'm going to finish a little bit.
the 2nd century AD. Now that's over
Okay.
1,800 years old.
Do that now?
That's a long time for a food to be developed. It originally came out of mainland China, and the rice was used in the fermentation process of fish. And they said the smell was about taking something that had been out, blue cheese that maybe had been outside for a week, and raw fish and vinegar, and let it sit out for about a week and imagine what that might smell like. Well, that's what the first, what they call sushi, was like. And they used the rice to ferment the fish, and sometimes it would be left in the rice for up to 3 months. And then they'd throw the rice away and eat the fish. Did you know that sushi was the first fast food? The first fast food ever that at least would be considered a fast food. It actually went to Japan. The earliest written recording is in the 700s. But the Edo period, which was like 1608 through 1767, around that 250 years in Japan, is when sushi really took hold in Japan. And that's the sushi that has come down to us today. But these colorful rolls that you see when you go to places uptown, the sushi bars, and the California roll and the Boston roll and all these fancy things were not how it was in the beginning. In fact, in the Edo period in Japan, in the 1700s, there were 2 sushi stalls for every soba noodle stall. So that gives you an idea of just how popular it was. And it was the fast food because it was quick. They could just ball a handful of rice, because sushi only means seasoned rice. Even today, particularly in this country, and I know in Charlotte, you say, you know, would you like to go have some sushi? No, because the misconception is that sushi is raw fish. Sushi has nothing to do with raw fish. It's only seasoned rice. But we put it together with fish. That's what the Japanese did. And it was a little bit difficult to indoctrinate people to raw fish in this country. And that's when all of the, when the California roll was developed. And that was the 1970s. Well, why only in the 1970s did sushi come to the U.S.? Because that was the time that all the Japanese companies were opening businesses in the United States. This is also the time that they were cash flush, and they needed to invest their discretionary dollars, and they invested in real estate all over the United States until the bubble burst, and then they lost most of their holdings. And we see a similar thing happening even in the country today with the Chinese dollars. They're buying our bonds and our real estate and every mineral right they can get their hands on all over the world. But the 70s was when sushi was actually in this country for the first time in a way, and the reason was because there were so many Japanese businessmen here, and they wanted a taste of home. And so this is how sushi happened to come about in the 70s in the United States. It has evolved since then. A lot of people say, oh, it's reached its peak. We don't think so. We think it's the demand for sushi has only just begun. And the type of sushi that is made and served is only limited by the imagination of the chef putting it together. Every country all over the world today will offer something different, and most of the time they will use foods indigenous to the region, whether it's a particular fish that is popular in that area or the vegetables that they grow. But sushi all over the world is growing. It's becoming a phenomena, if you will. And we are very blessed at Hissho to be, have been on the forefront of a rising tide. I will not call it a tsunami, but nevertheless, it's just growing exponentially. Min, what are you doing now?
Try to let everybody spread the rice first.